Alright, I'm ready to glaze. I have my pieces with resist on them, although I don't have a resist on all of my pieces. I've mixed up my glazes and I've left the sticks in the glazes, and I'm wearing gloves because I want to keep my hands clean. I'm going to show you maybe 4 basic different ways of doing some glaze, or applying glaze. The first one I'm going to show you is fairly simple. I'm going to use 2 different glazes over here. So I have some Ties Mystic Violet that I've mixed up. I know what color that is because I've looked at here. I'm going to, it's already mixed and I'm just making sure that it hasn't settled while I've been talking. So I'm going to hold on to this piece. I'm going to dip it about halfway in and I'm going to take it out. Really complicated here, right? I'm holding it over the bucket a little bit to drip. Just so that it doesn't have runs coming down the side, and you're going to see as quick as as I'm taking it out, it's starting to dry. Now it's not totally dry yet, so I'm going to wait a moment until I do the other part of this. In the meantime, I'm going to use some tongs to dip this piece. These tongs are made for glazing. They have 4 points that they hold on to. Now when you use them, you need to be real sure about your piece. So when I'm going to grab this piece here, I want to make sure I've got a good hold on it, a good strong hold. I can tip it over. I'm keeping my hand there in case I drop it. But if you've got a piece that's real thin or fragile, or if you've got a really strong grip, you want to maybe save these tongs for something else. Because you can pop through the side of this if you hold it or pinch it too strong, or if the piece is too weak. So I'm going to dip this one in the Korean Celadon. So I'm just making sure it's mixed up. I've got a nice good grip on my tongs. I'm going to dip it in, 1, 2, and right out again. Very quickly, I move in and out of that glaze super fast. There's no reason for me to hold it in there. And you can see this one's actually drying a bit faster than this one did. Am I out of shot? This one's drying a bit faster than this one did. This glaze was just a little bit thinner today. This one was a little bit thicker. I could see that when I glazed, or when I mixed it. When we're at the start of the quarter, we will make sure that the glazes are all mixed evenly. Towards the end of the quarter, sometimes things dry out a little bit or get water added, so you may want to check with me if you notice glazes are a different consistency than each other. Alright, so this piece has dried enough that I'm able to handle it without leaving fingerprints. So I'm actually going to dip the other side of this in the Korean Celadon. Same method, hold it in, pull it out, hold it upside down so it drips a little bit. And now I'm done. Now what I've done here is I've got a glaze on this side that's Ties Mystic Violet, a glaze on this side that's Korean Celadon, and through the middle I've got a mix of these two. Glazes, when they mix with each other, react differently. And it's a little bit unpredictable sometimes what's going to happen, or at least it's unpredictable unless you've tested it. It's called eutectics, and that's what happens when glaze materials melt with one another. This line in the middle is going to melt more than the glazes on either side. It's also going to, so it's going to run a little bit more. It's also going to potentially change color. And the order in which I cover these two glazes is important. Ties Mystic Violet over the top of Korean Celadon will look different than Ties Mystic Violet with Korean Celadon over it. Those two glazes can look different, and depending on the glaze combination, they can look really different from one another. So this piece is basically done. The only thing I need to check is that the bottom, where I had the wax, mostly resisted having any glaze. But look at this, that's a little bit of glaze that's on the bottom of my piece. I'm going to need to wash that up. If I go put this directly in the kiln, or if I put it on another glazed dot like the one that's right there, that wax is going to burn off fairly early. Then the glaze will continue melting, and the glaze will stick to the shelf. Just like it has happened with this little test tile. So I will want to wash that off. There's some sponges and some drawers over there, and I'll wipe these off on the bottom. This piece also has a little bit of that happening. And now I'm going to show you a way that you can glaze the bottom of a piece without getting any glaze on the bottom. Actually, I'm going to use this shape. It'll just be a little bit easier. So I'm going to use some Korean Celadon in the middle. So I'm going to take this little scoop, I'm going to pour it into my Korean Celadon, and then I'm going to twist this piece around and try to get as much coverage of the Korean Celadon in the middle. I actually chose Korean Celadon because it's a bit thinner than the Thai's Mystic Violet because I was holding it in there for longer. I'm just making sure it doesn't drip. Now I've got a nice coat of Korean Celadon all through the middle of this piece, and I haven't gotten any glaze on the outside. If I'd like to, I could glaze the rest of it with Korean Celadon and hold on to the bottom, but I'm actually going to wait just a moment and glaze it with the other glaze instead. Now this piece here, or any of these pieces, I'm waiting for them to dry before putting them into a different color glaze, because wet glaze can contaminate the two glazes, or the other glaze. So if I put one color and get it in the other color, so if I say take this scoop and I scoop some of that Thai's Mystic Violet, the glaze materials that are on here will contaminate this one and change the color. That's particularly important for dealing with light colored glazes or clear glazes. We had in the studio several years ago, we had a clear glaze that became basically gray because so many people had splashed other things into it. If you, however, wait for the glaze to dry, like I've done here, the glaze is held into the clay and it won't start to fall, it won't come off of the clay and into the other glaze. Alright, so I'm going to hold on to the bottom of this, and I'm going to not get my fingers or my gloves glazy, or at least I'm not going to get them very glazy. I'm going to take this piece and press it straight down into the glaze, and then straight out again. I left it in maybe a little bit longer than I needed to, but I was trying to be real careful. Letting it drip here, when I bring it back over here, you can see that I've got almost no coverage, no coverage of the second glaze inside. And that's because, right, as I push this down here, there's an air pocket, and because I kept it straight, that air pocket prevented any glaze from getting inside, except on the very edge of the rim. Now this piece, I got a little bit of glaze on my fingertips. My gloves are too big, but I didn't get any glaze on the bottom. I'm not going to have to wash the bottom of this piece like I will for the other ones. Now, one more thing you can do. This piece has no glaze on it, or no wax on it, no resist. I'm going to use the tongs again to dip this one. Get a nice good grip. I'm putting it in the same glaze so I didn't have to wash my tongs. If I had switched glazes, I would need to switch tongs or wash my tongs. Letting it drip. Now when I bring it back over here, you can see I've got a bunch of glaze on my bottom. That's okay. It's not okay to go in the kiln like that. That's okay. I didn't use wax. I am going to have to clean that off later though. Alright? In the next video, I'll show you how to do some decorative sorts of things. These were just basically coverage things. Thanks.